My name is Monica Gleberman, and you're listening to Silence on Set podcast. On today's podcast, we're talking to Graham McTavish, who you might know for House of Dragon, Outlander, Witcher, and various other projects. But he also has a brand new bourbon whiskey called the Warchief. It's a super premium bourbon with a mash bill of 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% malted barley. It's a bourbon with a very smooth, well-rounded finish and excellent richness, depth, and character. So to talk about his projects, of course, and to get really into the Warchief, here is the one and only Graham McTavish.
I'm so excited, and you have so many things going on, as always. So I want to jump into the first thing, which I have with me. I have everything with me, but...
yes, the book.
So I wanted to talk to you about it. I think you guys did such a great job with this one, specifically highlighting New Zealand, which I think is so critical and important, really diving into the history about it. You guys did some fun things in there where you included recipes and things that you ate and all of those things, the truths and the lies, which were really fun to read. So I wanted to know, why was it important for you guys to include some of those extras that are not typically in a book, like recipes and where you ate and things that you did for fans to read?
I think it was really just to kind of give it variety and make it enjoyable. You know, there were certainly things that we had that perhaps people hadn't enjoyed themselves before, so we wanted to share that. And, you know, we had a very varied experience, so we didn't want it to be just about how Sam was constantly terrifying me or my sort of writing about New Zealand history. We wanted to give a nice sort of mix of things.
Yeah, and I mentioned this to Sam too. You guys did such a great job of using native terms and kind of explaining what that terminology was. Why was it important for you to make sure that that stayed in the book and not Americanize it, if that makes sense, and like translate it, but to keep the originality in it?
Well, I think you really to try and stay true to that culture. Yeah, I mean, it's, the Maori culture is very different to ours. And one of the things that I found so interesting historically was the meeting of those two cultures in the middle of the 19th century. And to keep that terminology, I think helps to show that difference of what that would have meant when they met. It's all part of really exploring how a culture that was essentially 500 years in isolation. I mean, they hadn't encountered other people, other humans. I mean, apart from like seeing Abel Tasman off the coast with his men and stuff, they hadn't had any kind of settlement other than their own. And then equally for those people coming from somewhere like Scotland, where they, traveled 120 days, they're in woolen clothes, they're escaping either poverty or they just want a new opportunity to arrive in a place where the people are, their facial tattoos, they're standing there with spears and clubs. They don't even have the wheel. It would be so incredible. The only comparison now would be if an alien spaceship landed, really. So to try and really emphasize that, I think the terminology helps.
Yeah, and it's such a beautifully done book, and I learned so much. I wanted to know, during your process, did you learn anything new about New Zealand that you didn't already know? Because I know you live there, obviously, but it's so massive. So
yeah. Oh yeah, loads of things. I mean, all the research that I did historically just gave me a really fresh insight into the history of that country. And it's such a young country in terms of European settlement. And also just, when we spent time with the Maori on the marae and met Inia, who took us through everything, learning the haka, just learning about their community was very new to me. So that was really amazing, actually.
Well, I just wanted to mention it really quickly because I know you guys did a couple of things for it, but I love it so much. There'll be links below to buy it. Please buy it. The audiobook, I was hysterically laughing. You guys are fantastic at it. But I really appreciate this because I didn't know a lot. I found out pretty quickly that I was very ignorant to New Zealand. So I learned a lot from this book.
Well, I mean, New Zealand, listen, as Peter Jackson says in the foreword, there are maps that New Zealand isn't even featured on of the world, so a lot of people think it's like part of Australia. They don't even, I was talking to someone the other day, yesterday, in fact, I said, I'm flying to New Zealand. And he went, oh, wow. And I said, and you're flying over the ocean the entire way. And he said, well, which ocean? And I thought, you have no idea where this place is. You have no idea which ocean. ocean, the Atlantic, the Indian, the Arctic, the Pacific. And, when you realize that, a lot of people do not know anything about New Zealand. So it's been great to talk about it.
Well, I hope you guys do another book on New Zealand because I love it so much. You made me fall in love with it. So I'm hoping we get more information. I know you guys are looking at possibly other locations and stuff like that, but learning more about it, I'm so interested. I mean, I bought books about New Zealand. Like I went in from your book, so I love it.
Great. It's, as I say, for somewhere that's so young, so much has happened. You've gone from people greeting these ships in war canoes less than 200 years ago to the society that we see now in New Zealand. It's a huge change. I mean, America is a young country, but America is like sort of ancient compared with New Zealand in terms of the settlement that's occurred.
And then I guess my last question related to the book before I get into my really exciting Warchief is just, why do you think you and Sam get along so well in terms of traveling? Because you guys are so fun together. Is it because you're so different when it comes to activities? Do you think that's what makes it work so well? Or you guys are buddies?
Yeah, I mean, we complement each other, I suppose. Yeah. We are different. And also, we share a similar sense of humor, which is very important. And we have a sense of humor. So having an experience like driving around in a camper van for weeks on end, you need a sense of humor. So, it's great. We're just, the show is completely unscripted. So we just turn up and hope for the best and just talk to people as us. We're not faking anything. And hopefully people find that interesting. And Sam, for his part, really enjoys putting me through terrifying experiences. So it's an interesting combination.
Well, I want to congratulate you too, by the way, on the heights and all the stuff that you did. You are a champ because the stuff that he put you through, I felt so bad when I was watching it, but you powered through. And again, it's another just a trait of interviewing you for a long period of time. It's another trait of you that I think people should be aware of, that you're just so down to do anything and you're just so open to it. Like you might be scared, but you conquer all of it. And I think that says a lot about you, and it's really fun to watch. So
well, good. Yeah. I mean, I love a challenge. I'm not going to lie. A couple of those things were very, very, very difficult to do. And there were moments where I thought, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do this. I'm really not sure. And I said that to Kevin, the director on Men in Kilts, and Sam, and they were really good about it. They were like, okay, we're not going to force you to do anything you don't want to. But somehow even saying that I might not be able to do it helped force me into doing it, if that makes any sense. It was interesting, and I'm glad I did them. I'm very glad to have those experiences and to face your fears, I think is important in life. And most of them were in very controlled environments. In fact, the most dangerous was probably the Ray Ray rock slide, because that was completely uncontrolled. And it was only afterwards that I realized how utterly dangerous and awful it was, as the guy cheerfully reminded me at the end, the guy who had his nutsack torn off as he was going down it. So I'm really glad I didn't know that before I went on it. So it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, I definitely would have not wanted to know that ahead of time, because I would have been a hard pass on me. But then let's talk about Warchief.
Yes.
First of all, I want to show people what it looks like. This is what it comes packaged. It comes beautifully packaged in a box. I mean, you cannot destroy this thing in the mail. So everybody order it because it comes beyond packaged. But it's so beautiful. I have one opened. I didn't want to open this one because it's so pretty. But I love it so much with the gorgeous label on the front. There's all this information on the back.
Yes.
And what I found the most interesting, what you had on the back, is the mix that you did between the United States, New Zealand, a little bit of Scottish. Like there's like a lot of like basically you and your heritage and kind of your history that was, for lack of a better term, or a pun, poured into this bottle. So why was it important to include all of those things to make this?
Well, I mean, in describing it, I wanted to really talk about a sort of personal journey. And it was a personal journey that led me to bourbon, really. And it also, the journey of the bourbon paralleled my own career journey, especially via the United States. And the two things sort of occurred at the same time. So my first experience of bourbon happened shortly after I arrived in America. So they've been running kind of parallel with each other. And my sort of secret life as a bourbon drinker has finally been revealed. I've burst from the bourbon closet. I'm just not hiding it anymore. Yeah, and I did for years. In fact, I wasn't even aware that I was sort of a secret bourbon drinker until I realized in retrospect that I always chose the bourbon when I was picking a drink when I was at home, if I was going to have a spirit or anything, it would be the bourbon. So yeah, and that's all part of what I try and describe on the back of the label as well.
Yeah. I mean, you tell an amazing story. The label's gorgeous. The bottle's gorgeous. Everything you
Yes,
designed.
my dear friend designed that. Emma Quinn.
So people
She
can.
designed the label. She and I have known each other for over 30 years. And I thought of her immediately when we came to designing it. So she's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's doing so well. I think it's because of the taste. I know that, like, you know, there's local farmers that were involved in some of this with like the mills and what they were using and the ingredients that they put in there. You have white oak barrels, right? If I'm not mistaken, that were like toasted and charred to use to store like all of it in. So talk to me about the flavors, because it's a very rich, beautiful, smooth, strong, but not too strong. It's just like the ideal bourbon.
There's so many factors that go into it. There's the mash bill, there's the composition of the 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% malted barley. So the corn, the sweetness of the corn is balanced really with the spice, the sort of Christmas cake, fruit cake flavors of the rye. I mean, somebody described it, and I thought it was a great description, as Christmas in a glass. And it is really. And that's what appealed to me when we went through all the R&D, when we were trying many, many different expressions, that this was the one we kept coming back to. So it was exactly what we were looking for. And, you know, having a high rye content just gives it that little bit of extra spice, which adds to that smoothness with the corn flavors. It's like chemistry. It really is. And that's what I've been learning as I've been going through my bourbon journey, that there are so many factors involved. Where the barrel is positioned in the rick house, you know, how long it's been, what the weather's been like, what the water is nearby, what the yeasts are that have been used. So the possibilities with bourbon are infinite, literally. And that makes it very, very exciting. And that's why, you know, I went to a bourbon event yesterday, the Whiskey Social here in Houston, and all the different bourbons that were there, the community of bourbon, all rooting for each other to create good product. And it's been a really lovely part of it, actually, becoming part of a community that I knew nothing about really before.
Yeah. And you did something really special, because I agree with that description about like the holidays and Christmas, because you can drink it and just have a good time, but you can also drink it and throw in like a cinnamon stick and have a fire going and like blanket around you and just feel very like wintry feeling, like where you're like nice and warm. That's a very hard thing to accomplish in one bottle.
No, I mean, I drink it neat, but you can drink it with, you can make a really good old fashioned with it. We've just launched a rye whiskey, a Kentucky straight rye, that honestly, and I know this sounds like a line, but I find it very difficult to choose between them in terms of which one I prefer. And so the rye obviously is spicier, but unusually for a rye, it has a real smoothness to it. And that's obviously great for making Manhattans, or, you know, you can drink it straight. It's lots of possibilities.
Which of course we all love if we're drinkers.
Indeed.
You're always changing it up, right? So we could just make anything out of it. But like I said, it's very hard to do because we cover a lot of different types of spirits and alcohol, and it's usually one thing, if that makes sense to you. But this is not one thing. This is multiple things. And again, I was extremely impressed. You open it, you could smell like, I mean, it's very impressive. So I just want to congratulate you. It's so good. It's beautiful. Like I said, there'll be links below. I can't wait to try your other one. It's like really exciting.
The Keeper, it's called.
I like that name. How are you coming up with these names? These are very like
strong,
the Warchief
obviously
names.
is kind of, the Warchief is, you know, has an obvious link with
the Outlander,
and it's just a great word. You know, it's a great word.
But it's a nice, powerful word.
Yeah, it's got weight, you know, and when you pick words, they have a life beyond themselves, you know, they prompt things in your mind. So that's why we settled on the Warchief. And the Keeper is the name of one of my axes in The Hobbit. Grasper and Keeper.
Right.
Yeah. So, and we just thought, that's a cool word. It's a cool word.
I just love it because it's so much of your life. You know, every time we talk about acting and you give great advice, or we talk about a show, there's so much stuff that's related to your life that you kind of give us. So to incorporate so much of your life into these bottles and everything, it just makes it that much more special, you know?
Oh, well.
So
Good.
I just love that you do
Good.
that.
Good. Oh, thank you.
How's it been, really quickly? I know you've been touring. I've been seeing
Mm.
photos. Fans have been freaking out and loving it, meeting you and getting to, have their bottle signed and buy
Mm.
bottles and talk to you about it. So how's it been kind of touring all over? I know you're heading back home, but how's it been for the past month or
It's
so?
been great, actually. It's been really great. We've been on the road for really over, 2.5 weeks, more maybe. Scotland, England, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Texas. We're going into other states in the new year for retail. So we'll be visiting those as well come the new year. But no, it's very enjoyable. It's really enjoyable meeting the fans in this particular environment, and also meeting people who know nothing about me, but they're just really interested in the bourbon. And that's really satisfying. That's really where we're aiming for. I mean, I'm very keen for this not to be seen as a celebrity brand. I kind of wince at that sort of stuff. I very much wanted this bourbon to stand on its own, to be judged as bourbon. And that's been the most satisfying thing. When people who love bourbon, who know about bourbon, sample it, the reaction has been universally very good. And that means so much to me, because it would just be awful, putting my name in it and all the rest of it, working hard, and for the product not to live up to that. So that's been really fabulous, actually.
Yeah. I mean, no pressure putting your name on something you want to
I
come.
know. Yes, the product of an egomaniac. Yes. What should we call it? McTavish Spirits. Great. Of course.
You're like, no pressure. If they don't.
No. Just have my name on it.
But everyone loves it. Everyone. I haven't heard a single bad thing. I mean, everyone's going obsessed with it. And I mean, rightfully so. Like I said, it's like your life in a bottle mixed with I just can't explain it. And I really want people to try it because it's so unacceptable. It's so different.
It's been going great. We've already sold out of all the bottles that were allocated for Texas. We got here and they just said, we need more bottles. And we were like, oh, wow, okay.
Congratulations.
And the reaction last night at the Whiskey Social from the bourbon community was so, so good, and just really made us realize that we're on the right track with it, and that this is something that we want to continue with other expressions, not just the rye, but, with other bourbons, with other just different things that we've got in the pipeline coming up over the next however long. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, and I know you're such a family man too, and to put all this into place, which could be a lifelong thing that you can give to your family down the road.
Yeah.
I think it's such a beautiful thing as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, my children are too young to be drinking bourbon and rye at the moment, but eventually,
but down the road,
eventually,
20 years of all
I mean,
success.
it'll be great to open a bottle at my eldest daughter's 21st birthday party. Get her started on the bourbon. It's nice, and they're very excited about it as well.
I got a ton of fan questions for you, which I know you love my rapid fire, so I'll try to limit it a little bit. Yeah. But we got a ton for you. So I'm just going to open these up. Okay, so one fan asked, any exciting things planned for next year that you could reveal?
Next year? Well, apart from the usual things that I can't talk about, things that I don't want to jinx, I mean, I'll be going back on The Witcher. That's something that I'll be doing in the new year. But other than that, there are a lot of other things planned. Things to do with the whiskey, things to do with writing, things to do with producing and TV and stuff. So, there's a lot of different irons in the fire. So stay tuned.
And we still have your appearance on Outlander, which we all know about. So we still have that coming out. Speaking of writing, someone wanted to know, does Graham have plans to write his own memoir? And her name is Linda, who asked the question.
Yeah, I've been asked about that. Yeah, I mean, sure. I've definitely got a few stories to tell. You sort of get to this point and you suddenly look behind you and you realize you've been doing this for 40 years. And in that time, the business has changed so much. And I've been part of that. And, the people that I've met, some of whom are no longer with us, some of whom are incredibly inspiring and really helped shape my career and how I act and all those sort of things. I'd be very happy to write about that. I don't really want it to be conventional memoir. I'm not really interested.
I'm not surprised.
And then this happened and this happened and then I did this and then that happened. I'm kind of interested in the whole world of being an actor, which is, unless you're in that world, it's quite difficult to understand, actually. And I think quite rightly, a lot of people think it's insane to pursue that. And yeah, I totally understand that. So I think it would be interesting to write from that point of view, of a sort of an inside perspective on that whole world, not just about me.
Yeah, I think it would be great if you did a book where you told stories, because you have such great stories, but then also your advice for, up and comers and acting, pitfalls, what to avoid. We've discussed this before. All of those kind of things, I think would be such an interesting book to read, and how you have a 40-year career. You know what I mean? Like, I think all of that, nobody has given out advice like that, and I think that would be a really nice kind of mixture of something.
Yeah. I mean, I remember doing a play years ago, and one of the older actors in it then, who he talked about how he'd been acting for 25 years. And I just thought this was such a long time. I couldn't imagine it. It's like 25 years. I think I'd been acting for less than 10 when he told me that. I just couldn't conceive of it. And now here we are. It's like, oh God. Yeah.
Here you are, and you've been on like the biggest show, House of Dragon, Witcher, Outlander. I mean, it's crazy. So, but you have that kind of mentality. That's what I mean. Like, in your brain, you're very strategic with what you want to do and how you want to do it. You're prepared. I think you really understand the industry, and I think that's a gift that you could maybe write and give to others, because you really do understand it.
I'm definitely interested in doing something like that, and I have been talking to people about it. So fingers crossed. There's a few things. I mean, I try and do as much as I possibly can, but there's been a lot happening and will continue to happen. So I'm just trying to marshal all of those pieces, and actually also spend time with my family, my wife,
which is number one.
Kid. That's very important too.
I'll ask you one more question. Let's see. Someone asked, what was your inspiration to have your own business?
But this is the thing. I think people imagine there's a lot of stuff. There's a plan, but the history of my life, not just my career, has been throwing myself into things that I have really no understanding of. Acting, writing, starting a bourbon. I knew nothing about these things really. Certainly, I never started a business before. I have no idea about it. But somehow my blissful ignorance has proved to be a positive thing for me. It wouldn't be right for everybody, but I think if I knew too much about those things before I went into them, it would possibly frighten me off. Yeah, it was a little bit like moving to America. When I moved to America, I literally didn't even consider just all of the stuff that you have to do when you move to another country. Naively, I just kind of thought, well, I'll just get off the plane and then I'll be there. And it'll be fine. But then you arrive and you have to get a social security number. You have to get a bank account. You have to get a phone number. You have to get a credit history. You have to do all of this boring shit that would put you off, I think, if you knew too much about it. So with this business, the starting point was really getting on with Paul and Connor. Yeah. That was it. And it's the same with doing Clanlands with Sam. We like each other. So, hey, why don't we do a TV show? Why don't we do a documentary? Why don't we do a travel show? Let's write a book. Because I guess the people around you, or one, inspire you. And then that, everything I've ever done has been the same story, even down to, something so sort of strange as having children. You need the right person to be with to have the kids. And, I left it late, and then boom, I've got two. So all of these things, none of it's planned. So I guess I think what the future holds for me would be the same, more of the same.
I love that so much about you, though. I want to tell you, Bonnie on social media said hi. She was like, please just tell Graham I said hi. I love him. So she said hi. And then Sarah said, ask how he liked Kentucky and what his impression of it was. It was such a pleasure meeting this nice man at his bottle signing. I'm a big fan of The Hobbit, Outlander, Men in Kilts, The Witcher, and just finished reading Clanlands in New Zealand. So that's Sarah.
Great. Oh, I love Kentucky. Love it. I mean, I love all the places. I mean, listen, I love Milwaukee. I was amazed. The people, and the weather was good. That helps. It wasn't cold, but it was just delightful. I think those sort of areas of America, it was like when I was in Montana doing the movie, they really appealed to me. Kentucky, Tennessee, where I was earlier, and now in Texas. Yeah. I love meeting the people in these places. So that's been a real pleasure.
Well, they love you. And by the way, you should know everybody. I've been talking to Brandon because everyone's been asking me, where can I see somewhere in Montana? So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that because I know it's in
Yeah.
process. So I'm
Yeah.
letting everyone
We are
know.
in talks, or they are in
So
talks with distributors, and I expect that to be able to be seen next year.
very
Next year.
excited about that because it was
Yeah.
very good. So
It's good.
I'm
It's
excited
good.
for
It's very
everyone to
good.
see it.
Hope you guys enjoyed listening to Graham McTavish talk about all of his projects. If you're interested in purchasing Clanlands in New Zealand, the book is available now where all books are sold. So go to your favorite bookstore or online to make a purchase. The Warchief is currently available in various locations. To find out more information, visit McTavishSpirits.com. It's McTavish spirits.com. And if you're looking forward to seeing him in all of his upcoming projects, stay tuned because we will be announcing them as they come out. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you're updated on all of our latest podcasts, and head over to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe so you're updated on all of our video content.